Yo, what's goody, y'all? It's your boy Rebo, and I'm back with another video. I said to myself, I ain't gonna laugh while telling this story. I'm gonna try to keep a straight face, y'all, without laughing. You know what I'm saying? Oh man. Now everybody I tell this story to fall out laughing. Now in the beginning, I used to tell my brothers, and them dudes would just fall out laughing. You know, that's when I said to myself, I should make a YouTube channel telling these stories, man, because this story here, it'll throw you for a loop. Everybody I told fell out laughing, so I'm gonna try to keep a straight face. Let me exercise my jaws because this shit is funny. So yeah, we had these tenants, and my wife picked them up, by the way. But yeah, when I met them, you know, they seemed like good church-going folks. You know, it was a boyfriend and girlfriend. They were engaged to be married, so they said, and they had 3 kids. They had 3 boys. They were young, 5, 6, and 7. So yeah, when I first met them, well, when I first talked to them on the phone, it was on a Friday. They was like, yeah, we would like to move in, and they wanted to come look at the apartment. And I was like, it's Friday evening. I was like, y'all could check it out on Monday. And they was like, well, we need to move in ASAP. They was like, can they come look at it on Saturday? I'm like, who the hell shows an apartment on Saturday? And I was like, nah, you know what I'm saying? I was like, nah, I can't do Saturday. I said, I got a lot of things to do. And they was like, well, what about Sunday? We really need this apartment, and we saw pictures of it online and blah blah blah. I said, okay, all right, Sunday. I said, okay, Sunday at around noon, you know, before the football game come on. The football game come on at 1. I was like, yeah, okay, come over around noon. So they came over around noon. They must have just got out of church because they was all dressed, suit and they had on their Sunday best. So now the dude, he looked just like a young Farrakhan. he had a gap in his tooth. His teeth was gappier than mine. So he was like, oh, praise this dude, brother. I was like, hey, how you been, man? He was like, oh, I'm blessed to be. I'm blessed to be. And I'm like, okay. He was like, yeah. He was like, the man upstairs showed us the way to this apartment, and he was like, we landed in the right spot, brother. And then she was like, yeah, I'm so glad that you let us come see it around noon. These were black folks. And she was like, I didn't want to wait till Monday because I had to work. I had to do this and that and the third and blah, blah, blah. She was like, we're just so blessed. We're so blessed by the best to be here to look at this apartment. And it's such a beautiful day. And he was like, yeah, all praises due, brother. He was like, thank you for wasting your valuable time. I don't mean wasting. You know what I mean. You took out valuable time on your precious day, and this is the day that the Lord has made, brother. He was like, and we just want to extend our welcome, you know. He was like, yeah, and you know, we go to the church, and we're very active church members and blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, all right, I get it. And then the dude was like, yeah, we called your wife and sent her an email, and she responded. We told her about ourselves, and she did this and she did that, and she said this and she said that, and all we had to do was just meet you, brother. And now we are blessed to be in the place to be. And I'm like, okay, all right, I get it. So I showed them the apartment. They ain't even go upstairs. They just was like, yeah, we'll take it, brother, and we will do this and we will do that. We will get back to you on Monday. And I was like, you know, you got the first and last month, you know, the security deposit and, you know, whatever else, y'all can move in. You know what I mean? And you know, they took care. My wife took care of all the paperwork or whatever. And you know, about a week later, they moved in. I wasn't there. I was working 2 jobs at the time. You know, I was working overnights, and then I was working at another spot. So, you know, they moved in pretty quick and efficient. And about a week after that, 2 weeks from the day I met him, I had got off work one day, and the dude was sitting on the porch. He had on a hoodie. You know, he was dressed like a goon or whatever. I was like, oh, he's in his dress down clothes. You know what I mean? When I met him, he was in his Sunday best. So I said, hey, how you doing? He was like, what's up, fam? And I'm like, all right. He was like, yeah, man, we got moved in and settled. You know what I mean? He was like, yeah, man. He was like, everything looked good so far. And I'm like, yo, you the same dude that I met 2 weeks ago? He was like, yeah, man, we was just getting out of church. He was like, you know, it's a laid back day today. You know, I'm just sitting on the porch. He was like, you mind if I smoke? And I was like, yeah, go ahead, man. I was like, you on the porch? Yeah, go ahead. And I was like, I thought you was in the church. He was like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? I am in the church. He was like, you know, I got 1 feet in the street and the other feet in the congregation. He was like, yeah, I'm a Reformed gang member. You know what I'm saying? He was like, I'm known for robbing houses. He was like, I was known for doing this. You know, I was a stick-up kid. And I was like, okay. So I went and told my girl. My girl was like, she knew that they was phony from the beginning. And I was like, yeah, I did too, because they were overly, you know, they they were overly obsessed with church and all this stuff. From the thing they were saying, they sound like fanatics. You know what I mean? And my girl was like, she said she blamed it on me. She said it was my fault that they moved in. I said, nah, it was your fault. You the one picked these people out. I said, they hit you up, not me. She was like, yeah, you had the final say so. I was like, okay, all right. I was like, well, they in now. Ain't nothing we could do about it. So I saw the female the next day, and I was like, yo, I thought y'all was in the church. She was like, yeah, we are, you know. She was like, but you know, she was like, my fiance, you know, he just got out of jail, and he did this and he did that back in the days, and he's getting better. I'm like, okay, all right. Now, my son didn't like them because he ordered from, this is when DoorDash first came out. My son ordered some McDonald's from DoorDash, and DoorDash put the order on their side of the house, and so they came out and took his food. As soon as he opened the door to look, they had just closed their door, and he looked on the app and saw that where they put the food, and he went over there and knocked on the door, and they didn't answer. So he was pissed, because back then he was probably like 19, and McDonald's meant a lot to him. He was hungry. It was kind of late too. So my son ain't never like him after that. And I was like, yo, man, they good church. He wanted to kill him. I was like, man, you gonna kill some so-called church people? He was like, nah, they're phony. He was like, yeah, my son don't play with his food. He just like me. You know what I mean? He was pissed. But he ain't never like him after that. So I didn't hear from him for a while. Then they started slacking up on their rent. So, you know, I'm texting them, and they ain't responding. I'm calling, they ain't responding. They ain't really coming outside like that. And so one day I ran into the dude, and he was coming from church. He out on this Sunday best again. He was like, hey, how you doing, brother? And I'm like, no, this dude ain't flip-flopping. I was like, yo, man, what you just coming from church? And he was like, yeah, brother. He was like, I'm sorry we couldn't get back to you. He was like, but all praise is due to you. He was like, you know, we working on getting the church to help with our rent and our other utilities, brother. And he was like, because we gonna need our security deposit back. I was like, okay. I was like, all right. And so right when he was going in the house, my brother-in-law pulled up, and I told my brother-in-law the same story I'm telling y'all about him. And then my brother-in-law, he was like, yeah, they're a bunch of jackleg church members. And he was like, I could just tell. He was like, all that, brother, and all praises due to the man upstairs. He was like, they just doing too much. I was like, exactly. So I didn't hear from none of them, you know, for a while. And then I noticed throughout the week, they'll be blasting like 3 6 Mafia. You know, all I would hear is, I'm so fly, I slob on my knob like corn on the cob. I'm like, out of all the freaking rap groups, 3 6 Mafia, and then I would hear Bone Thugs and Harmony. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, damn, these some jackleg church members for real. So, yeah, so they wasn't paying their rent, and I'm telling my wife, I'm like, yo, what we gonna do about these people? And then I was like, because, you know, they getting too far behind. You know, a couple months had passed, and they were still flip-flopping. 1 minute, the dude was in church, and then 1 minute he was on the street. And throughout the week, they was playing 3 6 Mafia, and then on Sunday, they playing You Know You Can Win as long as you keep your head to the sky. And I'm sitting there scratching my head like, yo, these motherfuckers is weird, man. I'm like, they got to go because I mean, every day, as soon as they got home, they would blast 3 6 Mafia, and I'm like, yo, something ain't right. And then my son was like, you should just go ahead and evict them. I was like, yo, the process is slow, son. I was like, you don't understand, because I was trying to teach him the ins and outs, of being a landlord or whatever. And he was like, yeah, man, because he was still mad about his McDonald's. So I sat up there and thought of a plan. I was like, when I see these people, I'm gonna scare the shit out of them because I really wanted them out because they would blast that music, and they had no respect or no regards. You know what I mean? The kids be running in and out. You know what I mean? Then they started putting their trash in our trash because they was too lazy to take their trash can to the curb. So out of nowhere, when I saw the dude, he tried to act like he didn't see me. I was like, yo, what's up, man? He was like, yeah, what's good, man? I was like, oh, okay, he in the street mode today. So I was like, he was like, yeah, we're gonna get you your money. You ain't even gotta say nothing. I was like, all right. I said, but yo, I started lying. I was like, yo, have y'all been hearing any ghosts or seeing anything or hearing doors slam or cabinets open and slam? He was like, say what? I was like, yeah, man, because the chick that used to live here, she used to play with a Ouija board. It was a chick there that used to, it was a white chick there. I'm gonna tell y'all about her another time. She was she called herself a witch. She was in the Wicca and she played with Ouija boards and all types of stuff. It was crazy. But yeah, I was telling him, I was like, yeah, it was a chick that used to play with a Ouija board here. I was like, yo, y'all kids ever talked about a Captain Howdy? He was like, nah, man, what you talking about, man? He was like, Captain Howdy. He was like, that's some Exorcist shit. And I was like, yeah, remember in The Exorcist, the movie? I said, yeah, the movie, the girl was in the basement playing with the damn Ouija board. She started talking about some goddamn Captain Howdy. I said, remember that? He was like, yeah. He was like, nah, man. He was like, nah, my kids. He was like, nah, they ain't say no shit like that, man. He was like, oh man. He was like, yo, you serious? I was like, yeah. And so he was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to tell my girl this. So then about an hour later, she came banging on my door barefoot. She was like, you mean to tell me that there's spirits in this house? I was like, that's why the chick, I was lying. I was like, that's why the chick that lived here before y'all moved out. And then she was like, you didn't do anything about it? I was like, what the fuck can I do about it? She was like, well, you could have called somebody to come over here and spray something to get the spirits out. I was like, spray what? She was like, I don't know. She was like, what do you want us to do about it? I was like, can't you get somebody from your church or something? She was like, oh my goodness. She was like, this is going to be on my mind all night. So then that Sunday, I saw him coming home from church and I said, so what happened? And then she was like, yeah, the pastor said we got to move because we're not homeowners. She said the pastor told them that they got to move. That's the best thing. That's the best option. And he wasn't going to come over there and do that because, they don't own, they just rent. And the pastor told them they was behind on their rent anyway. They might as well just move. And she was like, I don't want to move. She was like, because I want to pay you so I can get my security deposit back. Will got nowhere to go. And I was like, so y'all haven't been hearing anything yet? She was like, not yet. And I said, what about smelling things? I said, have y'all been smelling like rotten eggs or anything? And she was like, oh my goodness. She was like, yeah. She was like, but it's been a while. I was like, oh, okay, wow. The reason why I asked him that is because now me and my son, we shave with this shaving powder right here. And this shit stink to high hell. It smelled like rotten eggs. So I told my son, I said, yo, use this shit one day and then the next day I'm gonna use it and then we'll switch. He was like, why? I was like, so that way they'll smell it and think of some spirits or some ghosts. So we did just that. Every other day we was using that shit. I would use it on my face one day, use it on my head. My son would use it on his beard. We was using that shit every other day. My wife was pissed. She was like, that shit stank. Yeah, shit, I was walking around the house with I put the shit on my head and on my beard walking around the house. My girl was like, fire up an instant. That shit stank. She couldn't take it. So a couple days later, we saw the tenants, and they was like, yeah, we've been smelling that smell. The dude was like, yo, I don't know what I'm gonna do. He was like, yo, that smell. He was like, that's making me sick. He was like, yo, there's something in here. He was like, yo, I thought I heard footsteps too. I was like, yeah, see. He was like, oh my goodness. He was like, oh man. He was like, yo, we got to get out of here, man. He was like, I don't want nothing to happen to my kids. He was like, I saw The Exorcist. He was like, oh my goodness. He was like, oh man. He was like, yo, Reem, I don't know what I'm gonna do, man. He was like, we can't afford to pay you to rent. He was like, but we gotta go. It was hilarious. I mean, this shit went on for like about 2 months, and so we kept using that magic shade. Or this Royal Crown. It's another one called Magic Shave that stank just like this one here. And so we finally ran them out of there. And when they moved, they left everything. They ain't take nothing with them. They didn't take nothing but the clothes on their back. So then, before they moved, I forgot to tell you. Before they moved, this is what really made them move. I didn't notice until after they moved. Now, I had put some glue traps in the garage because we get a lot of mice back there and shit. So every time I'll see some mice on the glue trap, I'll tell my son to get he used to hate it. So he would get mad every time I tell him to go pick them glue traps up and throw them in the trash. So this particular time, it was 2 dead mice on the glue trap, and instead of my dumbass son putting them in the trash, he throw the glue trap with the mice on it on their porch. And so they came banging on the door. Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, what the? I was laying on the couch half asleep. I opened the door. They was like, yo, it's some dead rats. I was like, oh shit. I was like, see, that's what I'm telling. And then the girl was like, ah, she was screaming. She was like, ah. And then the dude was trying to hold her. He was like, calm down. They was like standing away from it. They was like, calm down. I was like, yo, it might be some spirits on the rats. She was like, She was like, we gotta get out of here. We gotta go. I can't take that smell. She was like, I've been hearing doors slam. I was like, wait a minute, you been hearing doors slam? She was like, yeah. She was like, I don't know where it's coming from. She was like, maybe my mind be playing tricks on me. She was like, oh no, we gotta go. I mean, she was screaming. She was making a fuss. Neighbors was coming out looking. I was trying not to laugh. Oh my goodness, I was trying not to laugh. And I told my girl was dying laughing. I was like, man, yo. So shortly after that, they bounced. But here's the kicker. About 3 months later, I saw the dude at the gas station, and then he was like, yeah, man. He was like, yo, I don't know how you take it living there, man. He was like, yo, they don't affect you, do they? I was like, they who? He was like, them ghosts or whatever it is, them Hanks. I was like, man, y'all should have put bottles on the bushes or something, like how they do down south. He was like, oh man. He was like, and my girl, he was like, I was thinking about smudging that place. He was like, I'm sorry we couldn't pay y'all rent. I was like, it's all right, because they left a lot of expensive stuff in there. And then my son took it all. I took some of it. He left all his church clothes there. I sold half of it. And the other half I kept. So then, right when he was leaving out the gas station, I told him, I said, yo, where y'all staying at now? He was like, oh, we moved in with my mother. I said, you know spirits follow you, right? He was like, yo, he was like, please don't. He was like, don't do it. I said, do what? He was like, man, don't send them spirits after me. He was like, yo, it was hard getting away from him. He was like, my mom thought it was bullshit. He was like, if she put us out, we ain't got nowhere else to go. I was like, okay, all right. I was like, bye. It was hilarious. I'm telling you, man. This shit was crazy. 1 minute he was a saint, and then the next minute he was a gangster. 1 minute he was tough, and the next minute he was a pulpit pimp. It was crazy. Oh man, being a landlord is hilarious. It's a tough job, but somebody got to do it. Yo, it's your boy Remo. Peace.